always thought my life was perfect. At least, it looked that way from the outside. I had a good job, a cozy apartment, and the kind of fiancé most girls dream about. Mark was sweet, reliable, and he made me feel safe. We had been together for 3 years, and last month he finally proposed. The ring was simple, but beautiful. Just like the life I imagined we'd have together. And then there was my sister, Emily. She was my best friend, my partner in everything. We grew up close. We shared everything. Clothes, secrets. Even the same room until we moved out. She always told me I was the lucky one, the pretty one, the one who had it all figured out. I used to laugh at that, because in my eyes, she was the one who shined. Emily had always been a little wild, but I loved that about her. She made everything more fun. She'd crash on my couch after long nights out, bring me cheap wine when I was feeling down, and make me laugh until my stomach hurt. She was my person. I thought that would never change. That's why I never noticed the cracks. It started with little things, small moments I brushed off. Like how she looked at Mark sometimes when she thought I wasn't watching. Or how she always wanted to be around when he was over. At first, I thought it was sweet. My sister and my fiancé getting along. That was what I always wanted. A family where everyone loved each other. But maybe I was too trusting. One night, we were all at my place, sitting on the couch, watching some dumb, romantic movie Emily picked. Mark was on one end, I was in the middle, and Emily was on the other. She kept teasing him, laughing at his jokes a little too loud, brushing her hand against his arm when she reached for the popcorn. I noticed, but I told myself not to be petty. It's just Emily. That's how she is. She flirts with everyone. It doesn't mean anything. When I went to the kitchen to grab drinks, I could hear them laughing behind me. Their voices dropped when I came back. It made my stomach twist in a way I couldn't explain. "Are you okay?" Mark asked when he saw my face. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." Emily smiled at me, wide and innocent. "You've always been such a grandma. Come on, it's Friday night." I forced a laugh. I'm getting old, I guess. But inside something felt off. The next day, I told myself I was imagining things. Emily would never do anything to hurt me. And Mark, he loved me. He told me every day. He kissed me on the forehead when I woke up and sent me good morning texts when he was away. People like us didn't have drama like that. We were the steady, boring kind, the kind that lasted. We started planning the wedding. I asked Emily to be my maid of honor. She screamed and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Of course I will. You're my sister. Who else would do it?" she said. We spent hours looking at dresses, tasting cakes, scrolling through Pinterest boards. She made everything more fun, more exciting. She joked that she'd never get married, that she'd just live vicariously through me. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. One night, Mark stayed late helping me fix some wedding invitations. Emily came over with wine, as usual. The three of us sat at the table laughing, gluing little fake flowers to the cards. It felt like a scene out of Some Perfect Life. But when I got up to get more tape, I caught a look between them. It was fast, almost nothing. But it was there. Like a spark. Like a secret. They both laughed at something I missed. When I sat back down, they acted normal. But my hand shook. I pushed it down again. I had to. I couldn't imagine my life without either of them. So I told myself I was being crazy. Overthinking. Jealous of my own sister. That wasn't me. I wasn't that girl. But the thing about perfect lives? Sometimes they're only perfect because you refuse to see the cracks. You look the other way until the truth hits you in the face so hard you can't ignore it anymore. That night, after they left, I sat in the dark, staring at the little paper flowers we made. They looked so delicate, so pretty. But when I picked one up, the glue on the back hadn't dried. It stuck to my finger, pulling apart when I tried to fix it. Like everything else. And still, I told myself it was fine. Everything was fine. I had no idea then how wrong I was, or how much worse things were going to get. At first, it was little things. Things that didn't make sense if I thought about them too hard, but I told myself they were nothing. Like how Emily suddenly started showing up at my apartment without texting first. She used to call, or at least knock. Now, she'd just walk in like she owned the place. One evening, I came home from work, and she was already there. Sitting on the couch, flipping through a magazine like it was her place. "Hey," I said, trying to sound normal. "What are you doing here?" She smiled too wide, like she'd been caught doing something. "Mark let me in. He said you'd be home soon." I paused. "Mark? You saw him?" "Yeah, he was on his way out." She got up fast, grabbing her purse. "I was bored, and your place is cozier than mine." Her voice was light, but something felt off. Her perfume hung in the air, stronger than usual, like she had just sprayed it. I told myself I was overthinking again, but it kept happening. One night Mark and I had dinner plans. Emily texted me an hour before. "Hey, you still coming to Mum's tonight?" I frowned at my phone. I never made plans with Mom. I had dinner with Mark. I texted her back, confused. "What are you talking about?" "I have plans with Mark." She replied fast. "Oh, my bad. I must have mixed up the days. Sorry." That wasn't like her. Emily didn't forget stuff like that. I tried to shake it off, but the doubt stayed with me all night. At dinner, Mark seemed distracted. He kept checking his phone, smiling at messages he didn't show me. When I asked who it was, he just said it was work stuff. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But the knot in my stomach wouldn't go away. Later that week, Emily invited me out for drinks. But when I got to the bar, she wasn't there. She texted she was running late. I sat alone, waiting. After 30 minutes, I called her. "I'm almost there, relax," she said. But her voice sounded like she was outside. I heard traffic, but also laughter. A man's laughter. For a second, I thought it sounded like Mark. But that couldn't be. Mark was at his friend's game night. He told me that himself. I shook it off, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. When she finally arrived, she was out of breath, her makeup smudged like she'd rushed to fix it. She laughed it off. "Sorry, I got held up," she said. "Let me make it up to you." I nodded, pretending everything was fine. But my chest felt tight the whole night. The next day, I found one of Mark's hoodies on the back of my couch. Only, it wasn't my couch. It was Emily's. I went to her place to borrow a charger. And there it was, like he had been there recently. "Why is Mark's hoodie here?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Emily blinked, then laughed. "Oh, he left it last week, when we all had pizza here, remember?" I didn't remember, but I told myself maybe I forgot. Maybe. The lie started getting harder to ignore. I saw a missed call from Mark while I was at work. When I called him back, he said he hadn't called me. "That's weird," I said, staring at the screen. "It shows your name." Must have been a butt dial, he joked. But his voice was stiff, like he was forcing the laugh. Emily was the same way. Her stories didn't match anymore. She told me she was working late, but then posted photos of cocktails with no one tagged. She said she was at a friend's party. But when I asked which friend, she got defensive. Why are you acting like a cop? I can have a life, you know. I tried to laugh it off. Sorry, just curious. But I wasn't just curious anymore. I was scared. Scared of what I might find if I kept digging. One night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the weight of all those small lies pressing on my chest. My phone buzzed. It was past midnight. It was Emily. You up? Her text said. I sat up, my heart racing. I typed back, yeah, why? Nothing, couldn't sleep. Talk tomorrow. That was it. No more. I needed to know. The next day, I told myself I was being silly, paranoid. But I still found myself outside Emily's place after work. I told myself I just wanted to talk. To clear the air. I knocked. No answer. But the lights were on. I knocked again, harder this time. After a long minute, she opened the door. She looked surprised. Her hair was messy, her makeup smudged, like she'd been crying, or something else. What are you doing here? She asked. Can I come in? She hesitated. It's not a good time. That was all I needed to hear. My heart dropped into my stomach. Who's here, Emily? I asked, my voice shaking. No one, she snapped. Why are you acting like this? I tried to look past her into the apartment, but she blocked the door. I just wanted to talk, I whispered. Not tonight, she said, slamming the door shut. I stood there, staring at the wood, my hands shaking. Something wasn't right. I could feel it now, crawling under my skin like cold worms. And no matter how much I told myself to let it go, I knew I couldn't. I was going to find out the truth, even if it destroyed me. It was a Thursday night. Mark told me he had to work late. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was always the dependable one, the one who never lied. Or so I thought. But something inside me, something small and sharp, kept scratching at the back of my mind. Maybe it was the way Emily had been distant all week. Maybe it was the way Mark avoided looking me in the eye when he left for work that morning. I tried to shake it off. I told myself to stop acting crazy, but I couldn't. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. I waited until dark. I told myself if I was wrong, I'd never tell anyone. It would be our little secret. My shame to carry. Mark wasn't at the office. I knew that because I drove past his work and his car wasn't there. That was the first punch to the stomach. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at nothing. Then, like I was on autopilot, I drove to Emily's place. Maybe I knew. Maybe deep down, I had always known. Her building was quiet. Most people were inside, lights on behind closed curtains. I parked down their street, far enough that they wouldn't see me if they looked out. Her car was there, and so was Mark's. I sat frozen behind the wheel, staring at their cars side by side, like they belonged together. My chest hurt. My breathing felt too loud, like it was echoing in the empty car. For a second, I thought about turning around, going home, pretending I never saw this. But I couldn't. I got out of the car, my legs weak like they might give out. The closer I got to her door, the more I could feel the truth pressing down on me like a heavy blanket. Her lights were on. The blinds were half open. I walked up the steps, moving like I was in a bad dream. I don't know why I looked through the window. Maybe I wanted to see. Maybe I needed to. That's when I saw them. They were on the couch. Close. Too close. Mark's arm was around her. Emily was laughing at something he said. Her head on his shoulder. He kissed her. Not a friendly kiss. Not a mistake. A kiss that told me everything I needed to know. My heart stopped. The air left my lungs. They didn't see me. I stood there in the dark, watching the two people I loved most of the world betray me in the most disgusting, cruel way. Emily looked happy, like this was normal, like she wasn't kissing her sister's fiancé. Mark touched her face, smiling like he used to smile at me. I felt sick. My hand shook. I thought about banging on the door, screaming, breaking the glass. But I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, watching them, like some stranger outside a happy couple's home. A few minutes later, Emily got up to pour them more wine. She walked past the window and for a second, her eyes caught the glass. I don't know if she saw me. Maybe she did. But she didn't flinch. She just smiled and went back inside. That smile broke me. I stumbled back to my car, choking on the tears I'd been holding in. I slammed the door shut and sat there, gasping, shaking, breaking. How long had they been lying to me, sneaking, around behind my back, laughing at me, pretending to be the people I trusted? My phone buzzed. Mark. I stared at the screen, my hands frozen. His message popped up. Hope you're resting, babe. Work's been crazy. I stared at the words like they were written in a language I didn't understand. Lies. All lies. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Instead, I sat there in the dark, crying into my hands, my whole world falling apart in a way I never saw coming. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear their perfect little world apart the way they had torn mine. But I couldn't even move. That night, I didn't go home. I parked in some empty lot and sat there until the sun came up, numb and hollow, like someone had scooped my insides out and left nothing behind. I thought I knew pain before. I thought I knew heartbreak. But this was different. This was betrayal. This was the kind of pain that changes people. And as the morning light crept over the horizon, I knew something else too. I wasn't going to be the same after this. I couldn't be. They took everything from me, and I was going to make them regret it. I didn't go to work the next day. I didn't call in. I didn't answer texts. I didn't do anything. I just sat in my apartment, in the dark, wrapped in a blanket that did nothing to stop the cold I felt inside. My phone buzzed a few times. Mark, Emily, work. I turned it over and let it buzz itself to death. I didn't want to see their names. I didn't want to hear their voices. Not ever again. The hours passed, but I barely noticed. The only sound in the apartment was the clock ticking. Even that made me angry. Like it had no right to keep going when my whole life had stopped. I looked around the room and saw the pieces of the life I used to love. Photos of me and Mark at the lake, smiling like idiots. Pictures of Emily and me on the couch, laughing, making silly faces. I grabbed one off the wall and threw it across the room. The glass shattered. It felt good for a second. Then, nothing. I pulled the blanket tighter around me and curled up on the couch. I didn't want to think, but the pictures kept playing in my head, over and over. Mark's hand on her back, Emily's lips on his, their smiles, like they were in love, like I didn't even exist. The worst part was how normal they looked. Like it wasn't wrong. Like it wasn't the worst thing they could do to me. I cried until my face hurt, until my chest felt empty. At some point, the sun went down, but I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat there, staring at the darkness, letting it swallow me. I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I couldn't. My stomach turned at the thought. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. I heard them laughing behind my back. I heard Mark telling me he loved me while holding her hand. I heard Emily saying she'd never hurt me. Lies. Everything was lies. The next morning, I woke up on the couch, my head pounding, my body stiff from crying all night. I didn't bother getting dressed. I didn't even shower. I just sat there, staring at the cracks in the ceiling, wondering how long it would take to forget. Days, weeks, years? Maybe never. I got up once to go to the bathroom and caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I looked like a stranger. My hair was a mess. My eyes were red and swollen. My lips cracked from crying. I hated the girl staring back at me. She looked weak, pathetic. I smashed the mirror with my hand. The glass cut my skin, but I barely felt it. Blood dripped onto the sink. I stared at it like it wasn't mine. After I cleaned it up, I sat back on the couch. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't feel anything except the heavy ache in my chest. The only people I wanted to call were the ones who did this to me. And I couldn't do that. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of hearing me break. So I sat in silence. The days blurred together. I lost track of what day it was. I ignored my friends' messages. I ignored my mum's calls. I didn't want to explain. I didn't want anyone to see me like this. The world kept moving outside my window, but mine had stopped. I let it. For a while, I didn't even hate them. I just hated myself for trusting them, for not seeing it sooner, for letting them play me like a fool. One night I found myself scrolling through old photos, smiling faces, happy moments that felt like a joke now. I deleted them all. One by one. I deleted Mark's number too, and Emily's, but it didn't help. Their faces were burned into my brain. That night, I sat on the kitchen floor, holding the engagement ring Mark gave me. I stared at it for hours. It felt like a joke now, a shiny, empty promise. I thought about throwing it away, but I couldn't. Not yet. Not while I still had nothing left. At some point, I must have fallen asleep on the floor because I woke up cold and sore. My back ached. My mouth was dry. I got up slowly, like an old woman, and made myself a cup of tea. It tasted like nothing. Everything tasted like nothing. I knew I couldn't live like this forever, but right now, I didn't know how to do anything else. All I could do was sit in the ashes of the life they burned to the ground and try to remember how to breathe. I wasn't ready to move on. I wasn't ready to heal. I wasn't ready to let go of the hate growing inside me. All I knew was the person I used to be was gone. And maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe the only way to stop hurting was to stop caring. Maybe it was time to become someone they wouldn't see coming. But not yet. Not tonight. Tonight, I was still broken. And I let myself be. Because tomorrow, I wouldn't be. Tomorrow, I would start to remember how to fight. I don't know when the hate started to feel heavier than the heartbreak. Maybe it was after the fourth night of crying myself to sleep. Maybe it was the moment I realized they didn't even try to hide it from me anymore. Emily was still posting pictures of her nights out, pretending she was living her best life. Mark kept texting, acting like he still had the right to know where I was, what I was doing. They thought I would just fade away, crawl into a corner and disappear. They thought they won, but that was their first mistake. It hit me one night when I was sitting on the floor, surrounded by pieces of the life they stole from me. The wedding magazines, the decorations, the list of guests I'd never sent invites to. All the little pieces I had collected, thinking they were building blocks for a future. Now they just felt like trash. I picked up one of the wedding photos we took at the engagement party. Emily was standing right next to me, smiling like she was the proud sister. But when I looked closer, I saw it. Her hand on Mark's shoulder. Her eyes on him, not me. I threw the picture across the room. The frame cracked, but the glass stayed in place. That's when I realized something. They thought I was weak. They thought I'd fall apart and never get back up. But they didn't know me as well as they thought they did. I wasn't going to let them win. I wasn't going to sit here and let them walk all over me. They wanted my life? Fine. I'd let them think they had it. But I'd take theirs, piece by piece, until they had nothing left. That night, I stayed up, staring at the ceiling, letting the anger build inside me. It kept me warm when nothing else did. I stopped crying. There were no more tears left, only plans. I started small, quiet. I made a new social media, account one they couldn't track. I followed them both, watched from the shadows. I paid attention to everything they posted, everything they liked, everywhere they went. I learned their new routines, when they went out, who they hung out with, what lies they told the world. They wanted to act like the perfect couple. I was going to tear that picture apart from the inside. I knew Emily better than anyone. I knew her weaknesses, her secrets, the people she owed money to, the job she lost but never told anyone about. I made a list. And Mark. I knew his patterns too. His old flings. His temper when things didn't go his way. The skeletons in his closet he thought were buried deep. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to show up at their door and scream like a crazy ex. I was going to destroy them slowly, quietly, from behind the curtain. It wasn't about getting them back together. It wasn't even about making them feel sorry. I wanted them to feel small, helpless, like they made me feel. I started with Emily. I sent an anonymous message to her boss. Nothing direct, just a hint that she might not be as loyal as she seemed, that she was the type to steal from family. Her boss wouldn't know it was me, but I knew it would make Emily squirm. I heard from a friend that Emily got called into the office the next day. She didn't lose her job, not yet, but the seed was planted. Next was Mark. I created a fake profile. I sent flirty messages from a girl I knew he couldn't resist. He replied, of course. He was always weak like that. I saved every message, every photo he sent, waiting for the right moment to make them explode in his face. It felt good. Too good. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. I wasn't the broken, crying girl on the couch anymore. I was someone else now. Someone stronger. Someone they'd never see coming. At night, I stared at the engagement ring, still sitting on the kitchen table. It used to feel heavy in my hand, like a curse. Now it felt like a weapon, a reminder of what they took from me, and what I was going to take from them. I wasn't going to tell anyone. This was between me and them. No one else would understand. They started the fire, but I was going to finish it. And when I was done, they'd wish they never met me. They'd wish they never betrayed me. I didn't care how long it took. I had all the time in the world, and nothing left to lose. I never saw myself as the villain before. I was always the good one, the kind sister, the loyal girlfriend, the person who kept the peace. But all that did was make me an easy target. People like me get walked on, used, lied to. That part of me was dead now. I spent days watching videos, reading books, and studying people. Not the happy love stories I used to like. No, these were about revenge, mind games, power. I learned that the key to winning wasn't yelling or crying. It was control. Quiet, careful control. I learned to stop showing my feelings. That was the first step. I deleted my old photos, my old life, my old self. I started dressing different, simple, clean, sharp. I cut my hair. I got rid of the soft curls Mark used to love. Now it was straight, cold, and serious, like me. I looked in the mirror and practiced a smile that didn't reach my eyes. It took time, but I got good at it. Emily and Mark had no idea who they were dealing with now. I used to trust people too fast. I learned to stop doing that. I started listening more, talking less. People tell you everything when you just smile and stay quiet. I practiced on strangers first. The barista, the guy at the corner store, even people at work. I learned how to read them, how to make them like me without giving them anything real. It felt like wearing a mask, and I liked it. I started showing up in places Emily and Mark went. Not to talk to them, just to be seen, to remind them I still existed. But now I was different. I'd sit at the bar, order one drink, and leave without a word. I wore red lipstick. Emily hated red. She once told me it made me look too bold. Now I wore it every time I knew she'd be there. People started whispering about me. That girl who used to be so sweet, she's changed. She looks dangerous now. Good. Let them think that. Emily was still trying to play the victim online, posting fake smiles, acting like the queen of her perfect little life. But I could see the cracks. She was losing friends. People were starting to doubt her stories. I made sure of that. I created a fake profile and sent anonymous messages to her new boyfriend's ex. Told her the truth about Emily. Sent her photos, proof. The kind of proof that couldn't be argued with. Mark was easier. His ego made him sloppy. He kept falling for the fake girl I created online. I used the photos he sent me to build a little folder. A bomb waiting to go off. But I wasn't ready to drop it yet. I wanted them to squirm first. One night, I walked into their favorite restaurant. The one Mark used to take me to on special dates. I knew they'd be there. I dressed up like I didn't have a care in the world. Tight black dress, heels, perfect hair, red lips. They saw me. I made sure they did. Emily's face twisted like she tasted something bitter. Mark froze, his smile fading fast. I smiled at them, that cold, practiced smile, and walked right past their table without stopping. They didn't say a word, but I knew they felt it. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was the shadow in their perfect little world. The next day, I sent Mark a message from the fake profile. Your fiancé used to post better pictures when she was with me. He replied in minutes. Who is this? I didn't answer. Let him wonder. Let him squirm. This was the game now. And I was winning. I started to enjoy the power, the control. The way I could make them doubt everything, just by planting a seed and walking away. I wasn't the sweet girl who cried in the dark anymore. I was someone else now. Someone I never thought I could be. And the scary thing? It felt good. Too good. I started to see how easy it was to make people bend when you learned the right buttons to push. Emily once told me I was too soft for this world. Now she'd see how wrong she was. Because the soft girl was gone. All that was left was someone who wasn't afraid to hurt them the way they hurt me. Someone who would smile while doing it. I didn't care if they hated me. I wanted them to. They turned me into this. And now, they'd have to live with it. I wasn't their sister. I wasn't his ex. I was the villain in their story now. And I was just getting started. I knew what Emily loved most. It wasn't Mark. It wasn't even me. It was her image. The way people looked at her. The way they talked about her. Like she was someone special. Emily needed to be the center of every room. The one with the loudest laugh, the prettiest smile, the life everyone wanted. I made a plan. Every step was going to be slow, careful. She'd never see it coming. I started with her. Friends. The ones who believed every word she said. They were easy to charm. I showed up at their hangouts, smiling, pretending to be the bigger person. I acted like I was over everything, like I didn't care that Emily and Mark were together. At first, they kept their distance, but people love a comeback story, and I gave them one. I told them I forgave her, that I was trying to move on. I made them feel sorry for me, but in a way that made them respect me too. She's still my sister, I'd say, smiling sadly. Family is complicated, right? They nodded, ate it up like candy. Once they let their guard down, I started feeding them little stories. Nothing big at first, just small hints, like how Emily used to lie about where she was on weekends, how she borrowed money and never paid it back. I let them connect the dots themselves. Oh, but maybe she's changed, I'd say, acting sweet, pretending I didn't mean anything by it. But it was working. I could see it in their eyes. Doubt. The more they doubted her, the more they pulled toward me. Emily noticed, of course. She cornered me one night at a party. "What are you doing?" she hissed, her smile fake for the people watching. "Nothing," I said, sipping my drink. "Just living my life." "You're poisoning them against me," she snapped, keeping her voice low. I smiled, the same cold smile I practiced in the mirror. "You're doing that all by yourself." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Good. That was the point. But I wasn't done. Next, I went after her new boyfriend, the one she was bragging about online, like he was some trophy. I found out where he worked, what he liked, who his exes were. It didn't take long. Emily always picked guys with weak spots. I sent him an anonymous message, told him about her cheating past, attached a photo of her and Mark from before they broke up with me. Told him she had a pattern. He didn't believe it at first, but doubt is like a cracking glass. Once it's there, it spreads. Soon enough, Emily's boyfriend was calling her crazy, accusing her of things she couldn't prove wrong. I sat back and watched the cracks get bigger. Then I went for Mark. I sent him the messages he sent to the fake girl I made. I told him I knew everything. That if he didn't keep quiet, I'd show Emily. He begged me not to. It felt good to watch him squirm. To know I held the knife now. I didn't care what he did after that. He was broken, pathetic, not even worth my time. But Emily, she still had her throne. She still had people who looked up to her. I wasn't done until I took that too. I planned a small get-together. I invited all her friends. She wasn't supposed to know. I made it seem like it was about me, about healing, moving on. But really, it was about showing everyone who Emily really was. I printed out photos, messages, emails, proof of everything. I put them in a neat little folder. At the party, I waited until the perfect moment, when everyone was laughing, drinking, telling stories about old times. Then I stood up. "I have something to share," I said, smiling sweetly. Emily's face went pale. She tried to stop me, but it was too late. I passed the folder around, letting everyone see the truth. The room went quiet. Nobody spoke. Emily tried to laugh it off. "She's lying. She's always been jealous of me." But the damage was done. Her boyfriend walked out. Her friends looked at her like they didn't know her anymore. It was over. She ran out, tears in her eyes, but I didn't follow. I stayed. I smiled. I accepted the hugs, the pity, the praise. "You're so strong," they said. "Better off without her," they told me. I agreed. Inside, I felt nothing. No guilt. No regret. She took my life. I took hers, piece by piece. And now, I was finally winning. But even as they laughed with me, cheered for me, I knew something they didn't. I wasn't the hero in this story anymore. I didn't want to be. I was the villain. And I loved it. It was only a matter of time before Emily came for me. After the party, she disappeared for a few days. No posts, no calls, no fake smiles. I waited, knowing she wouldn't stay quiet forever. I was right. She showed up at my apartment one night, pounding on the door like she was ready to break it down. I opened it slowly, calm on the outside, though my heart raced. She looked different. Makeup smeared, hair a mess, eyes wild like an animal caught in a trap. "What do you want, Emily?" I said, like I didn't already know. She pushed past me without waiting for an invite. "You think you won, huh?" she snapped, spinning to face me in the middle of my living room. "You think you can just ruin my life and get away with it?" "I didn't ruin anything," I said, closing the door behind her. "You did that all by yourself." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think you're so clever, so cold, but you're still the same scared little girl, hiding behind your perfect plans." I walked past her, poured myself a glass of water, took my time. "You're wrong. I stopped being that girl the day you took Mark from me." She slammed her hand on the table, making the glass shake. "Mark? You still think this is about him? God, you're pathetic." I stared at her, my face calm, but my hands clenched under the table. "You want the truth, sister?" She spat the word like poison. "He never loved you. He was bored. You were boring. He wanted me because I'm not scared to live. Not like you." For a moment, the words hit me like a slap, but I didn't let it show. I smiled. "Maybe. But now you have nothing. No friends, no boyfriend, no fake little world to hide behind. And I'm still standing." She stepped closer, eyes dark, almost daring me to flinch. "You think this is over?" she whispered. "I know things about you. Things you wouldn't want anyone to know." "Go ahead," I said. "Tell them. Let's see who they believe now." For a second, she looked like she might hit me. But then she stepped back, laughing bitterly. "You really think you're the villain now, don't you?" she said. "Newsflash. I was always the villain. You're just playing catch-up." I set down my glass, You're wrong, Emily. You broke me. You took everything from me. But you made a mistake. You left me with nothing to lose. She stared at me, breathing hard. This isn't over, she said. It is, I replied. You just don't know it yet. She stormed toward the door, but paused, looking back at me with a smirk. Be careful, sis, she said softly. When you burn bridges, sometimes the fire catches you too. And then she was gone. I stood there, the silence heavy, my chest tight. I thought I would feel powerful, like I finally won, but instead, all I felt was empty. Later that night, I got a message from an unknown number. You think you're smart? You forgot what I know about you. Attached was a photo. Me. Drunk. Saying things I never wanted anyone to hear. Things I told Emily when I trusted her. Things that, if they got out, would destroy me as much as I destroyed her. I gripped my phone so hard, my knuckles turned white. I should have known she wouldn't go down without a fight. The next day, I found out she'd been talking to people behind my back, telling them I was a liar, the fake, that everything I did was out of jealousy. Some people believed her, some didn't. The cracks were spreading both ways now. We were both standing on the edge, pulling each other down. And for the first time, I realized something that scared me. I didn't care. I didn't care if I went down. As long as she went with me, it wasn't about winning anymore. It was about making her feel as broken as I did. I sat alone in my apartment that night, staring at the reflection of myself in the dark window. Who was I now? I didn't know. But I knew what I had to do next. She wanted to play dirty. Fine. I was done holding back. No more rules, no more games. Next time we faced each other, there'd be no going back, and one of us wouldn't walk away. I thought I knew everything there was to know about Emily. I thought I had uncovered all the lies, all the dirt. But I was wrong. There was still one truth hiding in the shadows, waiting to tear the ground out from under both of us. It started with a letter, an old, yellowed envelope I found in a box of Mom's things. I wasn't even looking for it. I was just cleaning out the storage closet, trying to get rid of old memories I didn't need anymore. The envelope had my name on it. But the handwriting wasn't Mom's. It was Dad's. Dad, who left us when I was 15. Dad, who walked out one day and never looked back. We never talked about him. It was like he died, even though we knew he was still alive somewhere. I opened the letter, expecting maybe some sorry excuse, some weak apology for leaving us. What I found was worse. The letter wasn't written to me. It was written about me. And Emily. It started with, "If you're reading this, then the truth finally found its way to you." My hand shook as I kept reading. It wasn't just a goodbye letter. It was a confession. Dad wrote that Emily wasn't my full sister. She was my half-sister. Her mother wasn't the same as mine. Dad had cheated on Mom. Emily was the proof. When Mom found out, she threatened to leave him, to take me away and never let him see me again. But she didn't. She stayed. She took Emily in, raised her like her own, told no one the truth. She kept the family together for the sake of appearances. I dropped the letter. My heart pounded in my chest like it was going to explode. It couldn't be true, but the dates matched, the names, the places. I sat on the floor, trying to breathe. All this time, I thought Emily and I were the same. Sisters by blood, by family, by love. But we weren't. She wasn't even my real sister. All those years of loyalty, of protecting her, of loving her like she was part of me. It was built on a lie. I felt sick, but also something clicked. This was why Mum always treated us differently, even if she tried to hide it. Why Dad left but still sent money for Emily, never for me. Why Emily always acted like the world owed her something. Because it did. She was the child of the affair that ruined our family. And I never knew. All the hate I felt towards her started burning hotter. But there was something else too. Something heavier. Was this why she took Mark from me? Why she always needed to be first, to be better, to win? Maybe she always knew she wasn't really mine. And maybe she hated me for it as much as I hated her now. I picked up the letter, folded it carefully, and slid it back into the envelope. I didn't know what to do with it. Part of me wanted to throw it in her face, to let the world know the truth about her. But another part of me wasn't sure. This wasn't a game anymore. This was the core of who we were. I couldn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling. The words from the letter burned into my brain. In the morning, I made a choice. I called her. She answered on the second ring, her voice sharp. "What do you want now?" she snapped. "Meet me," I said. "At Mum's house. Tonight." She paused. "Why?" "Because there's something you need to see." She didn't ask what. She just said, "Fine." That night, we sat in Mum's old living room. The house was empty now. Mum had moved to Florida last year, left the house for us to deal with. We never did. It still smelled like old memories and broken promises. I slid the letter across the table. "Read it," I said. She rolled her eyes, like she thought this was another one of my games. But as she read, her face changed. Her hands shook. When she finished, she threw the letter across the room. "Lies," she whispered, but her voice cracked. "It's his handwriting, Emily," I said quietly. "It's the truth." She shook her head. Number. She was my mom. Dad was my dad. That's it." I stared at her. "He wasn't. He cheated. You were the proof. And Mum covered it up." She stood, pacing, breathing hard. "So what? What does that change?" "Nothing." "You think this makes you better than me?" I stood too, my voice low but sharp. "It explains a lot, doesn't it? Why you always hated me. Why you had to steal everything that was mine." Her face twisted. "You always thought you were better. The perfect daughter. The golden child." "I never was," I said. But I didn't lie about who I was. We stood there, two broken people, staring at each other like strangers. "You can't use this against me," she hissed. "This isn't mine to own. This is their mess." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You already owned it, Emily. You lived it your whole life." For once, she had no words. We were both broken by the same family. But now, I knew the truth. And that changed everything. After that night at Mum's house, nothing felt the same. Emily stormed out, leaving the letter behind, but I knew she had read every word. I knew it broke her in a way I never could. She didn't even try to fight back this time. No yelling, no games, no more pretending. The truth had done what all my plans couldn't. It left her hollow. But the thing they don't tell you about revenge, it doesn't clean up the mess after. When the dust settled, I was left sitting in the middle of the wreckage we both caused. And there was a lot of it. Friends we'd turned against each other. People who used to be close to both of us, now looking at us like we were strangers. Mark? He was gone. I didn't even care where he ended up. The last message he sent me went unanswered. I deleted his number, finally for good this time. Emily disappeared too. She shut down her social media. Her friends stopped talking about her. She moved out of her apartment without telling anyone. She just vanished. At first, I told myself that was what I wanted. I had won. She was broken, alone, like she made me feel. I should have been happy, but I wasn't. The apartment was quiet now. Too quiet. I thought about calling some of our old friends, trying to explain, to fix the bridges I burned. But I didn't even know what I'd say. How do you tell people you became someone else? Someone who hurt people just to feel powerful again? So I stayed alone. I cleaned the place. I threw out everything that reminded me of them. The photos, the old letters, even the fake wedding decorations I still had lying around. I thought if I got rid of the physical stuff, maybe it would erase the rest. It didn't. I started waking up with this ache in my chest. Like something was missing, something I couldn't get back. Sometimes I'd look in the mirror and not even recognize myself. The coldness in my eyes. The way I smiled without feeling it. I had become the person Emily always said I could never be. The villain. The one who played dirty, who didn't care about the wreckage. But now that the fight was over, I realized something I didn't want to admit. I missed her. Not the person who stabbed me in the back. Not the liar. I missed the girl who used to braid my hair when we were little. The sister who made me laugh when I wanted to cry. The one who shared my secrets under the covers at night, back when we were just kids, who didn't know how broken the world was. That girl was gone. Maybe she never existed. Or maybe I was the one who killed her. I tried to keep busy. Work, cleaning, sleeping too much. Anything to stop thinking. But the regret stayed. Heavy. Ugly. One night, I got drunk alone in the living room and tried to call Emily. Her phone was disconnected. That's when I realized how far we'd fallen. We weren't just fighting anymore. We were over. And even though I told myself that was what I wanted, it hurt more than I expected. A few days later, Mum called. She never called me first. She usually waited for me to check in. She sounded tired, like she already knew what happened, even though I never told her. "Where's Emily?" she asked quietly. I swallowed hard. "I don't know." Silence. "I thought you two would always have each other," Mom finally said. "Yeah," I whispered. "So did I." We sat there in the silence, and for the first time in weeks, I let myself cry. Not angry tears, not revenge tears. Real ones. I wasn't proud of what I did, but I didn't regret it either. That was the part that scared me the most. I knew I'd do it all again if I had to. Because in the end, it wasn't about winning. It was about not being the weak one anymore. But now I was left with the broken pieces of our lives, scattered all around me. And I didn't know how to pick them up. Maybe I couldn't. Maybe some things stay broken. But that night, I made myself a promise. No more games, no more pretending. If I was going to move on, I had to face the truth. All of it. Even the ugly parts about myself. I had to learn to live without the war, without the fight. Because what was left now? Just me. Alone in the wreckage, but still standing. And maybe that was enough. For now. It had been weeks since I last saw Emily. The silence between us felt heavier than any of our fights. No more texts, no more games, nothing. It was like she disappeared from the world. And maybe that was what I wanted. But late one night, I got a message. Not from her, but from someone I didn't know. It was short. An address. No words. Just a location. For some reason, I knew it was from Emily. Or about her. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. I could have ignored it. I could have deleted it and moved on. But I didn't. Instead, I got in my car. The address led me to a cheap motel on the edge of town. The kind of place people went when they didn't want to be found. I parked, sat there for a few minutes, telling myself to leave. But I didn't. I walked up to the room, number listed in the message. The door was cracked open. That wasn't like Emily. She never left doors open. I pushed it gently. She was inside, sitting on the floor, back against the wall, surrounded by empty bottles. She looked up when I walked in, her face pale, makeup smeared, like she hadn't slept in days. "Guess you found me," she said, her voice hollow. I closed the door behind me. "Why send me the address if you didn't want to be found?" She gave a bitter smile. "Maybe I did. Maybe I just wanted someone to see how far I've fallen." I looked around the tiny room. It smelled like old smoke and regret. "This is where you've been hiding?" I asked. She nodded. Nowhere left to go. We sat in silence for a while. Two ghosts of the people we used to be. "I guess you got what you wanted," she said finally, her voice sharp. "You destroyed me." I shook my head. "No, Emily, you destroyed yourself. I just gave you the mirror." She laughed bitterly. Maybe I deserved it." She stared at me, her eyes empty. "But you win, okay? You can go now. You can tell everyone you beat me." I didn't move. I looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't see the enemy. I saw my sister, the girl who used to braid my hair, the one who stayed up late telling me stories when I was scared. Somewhere along the way, we both became people we never wanted to be. "You're wrong," I said quietly. "I didn't win. I just stopped losing." She looked at me like she didn't understand. "I came here to make a choice, Emily," I continued. "I could destroy you. For real this time. I could show that letter to everyone. Tell the world you were never really my sister. Watch you fall even harder." Her lips trembled, but she stayed quiet. "But I'm not going to." Her eyes filled with confusion. "Why?" she whispered. "Because I'm tired," I said. "Tired of the hate. Tired of carrying all this pain. It's killing me, Emily. And I think it's killing you too." She looked away, wiping a tear off her cheek. "I thought revenge would make me feel better," I said. But all it did was leave me empty. Silence again. "I'm walking away, Emily. You can stay here, or you can get up. I don't care anymore, but I'm done. I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to fix you. I'm not going to be your enemy." She looked up at me, tears running down her face now. "I don't know how to fix this," she whispered. "Neither do I said. "Maybe some things can't be fixed." I stood, looking down at her one last time. "I forgive you, Emily. Not for you. For me." She shook her head. "I don't deserve that." "Maybe not," I said. "But I need it." She sat there, broken, while I walked to the door. I paused, my hand on the handle. "You have to live with what you did. I have to live with what I did. That's the price." She didn't answer. I walked out. The night air hit me like a slap. Cold, sharp, real. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. I didn't know what came next. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a neat, clean ending. But I had myself. That was enough. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away from the motel. From her. From the war that almost destroyed me. I didn't look back, because the only thing that mattered now was forward. It had been 3 months since I walked away from that motel. Since Emily. Since all of it. At first, it felt strange. Waking up without the weight of revenge on my chest. There were no more battles to plan, no more lies to spin. I was alone. Not in the sad, pitiful way I used to feel, but in a new way. A way that made me feel like I finally owned my life. I changed everything. I moved to a smaller apartment on the other side of town. No more pictures on the walls. No more memories staring back at me from every corner. I got rid of the old clothes, the old furniture, the old me. I didn't need them anymore. I cut off everyone who used to know me as the girl who got cheated on, as Emily's sister, as Mark's ex. I started fresh, new job, new number, new routines. At work, people only knew me as the quiet girl who kept to herself. That's how I wanted it. I didn't need anyone's attention or approval. I liked being a mystery. I liked being in control. And I never, ever trusted anyone right away. Maybe I never would again. But I was okay with that. One day, I passed by a jewelry store. The same kind Mark bought my engagement ring from. I stopped outside, looking at the shiny rings in the window. I still had the one he gave me, tucked in a drawer. I had planned to sell it for months, but kept putting it off. That day, I did it. I walked inside, placed it on the counter, and didn't even blink when the guy offered me less than it was worth. I just wanted it gone. Walking out of the store, I felt lighter. It wasn't about the money. It was about finally letting go of something that no longer had power over me. That night, I stood in front of the mirror. I looked different now. My face was sharper. My smile wasn't soft anymore. It was the smile of someone who survived hell and came out colder but stronger. I liked who I saw. For the first time in my life, I wasn't someone's sister, someone's girlfriend, someone's victim. I was just me, and that was enough. I thought about Emily sometimes, where she was, what she was doing, if she hated me as much as I used to hate her. But I didn't feel the same rage anymore. Just emptiness. She was a part of my past now, a chapter I finished and closed. She could live her life however she wanted. So could I. One evening, I got a message from an old friend. Someone I hadn't talked to since everything exploded. Heard about you and Emily, they wrote. Hope you're okay. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it. I didn't need to explain myself to anyone. I didn't owe anyone a story. This was my life now, and I was writing it on my own terms. I signed up for a night class, something I always wanted to do, but never did, because Mark or Emily always made me feel like it wasn't important. Article drawing, something small just for me. I sat in the back, kept to myself, let my hands move on the paper while the rest of the class chattered. It felt good, like breathing again after holding it in for too long. One night, after class, a girl sat next to me. She smiled, friendly, like she wanted to talk. Your drawing's really good, she said. I smiled back, a real one this time. Thanks. She told me her name. I told her mine. For a moment, I felt the old fear creeping in. What if I let someone in again and they hurt me? But then I reminded myself, I wasn't that girl anymore. I knew how to protect myself now. I could choose who I let close, on my terms. Maybe I wouldn't let anyone in for a while. But maybe could, someday. I walked home that night under the city lights, the air cool against my skin. I wasn't scared. I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I wasn't thinking about Emily or Mark or anyone else. I was just there, alive, free. The girl I used to be was gone, but I didn't miss her. This new version of me. She was stronger, colder, yes, but she belonged to me, and nobody could take that away from me again. As I stood outside my apartment, I took one last look at the quiet street, the empty sidewalks, the stars above that didn't care about any of my old pain. I smiled to myself. They started the war, but I ended it on my terms, and that was all I ever needed.